been married for a year to my wife and I'm still a virgin. I recently found out why. My wife and I got married in February of last year. We had been dating for 4 years prior to getting married. During that time, we hadn't been intimate or anything close to it. We'd kissed, cuddled, and done things like that, but nothing more. She told me she was waiting for marriage, which was fine with me. I was happy with that because I had always known we'd get married. Fast forward to the wedding day, and I was about to explode from excitement. Firstly, I was marrying the woman of my dreams. Secondly, we were finally going to be intimate. The wedding itself was really nice. It was a pretty basic ceremony in a small chapel with only close family, followed by a meal at her parents' house. We then went back to my wife's house, and I was ready for it, but she said she was too tired after a long day. No problem, I thought, what's one more day? The next morning, I woke up, and she had already gone out. I had no idea what time she left, and there was just a note on the fridge saying she was at her parents' house. This detail is important for later. That was almost a year ago. Every time I've tried to discuss the subject, she's either been too tired, upset, not in the mood, or had some variation of these excuses. At one point, she accused me of being obsessed with intimacy because I used to ask about it most days. I've taken her on many romantic date nights, but as soon as intimacy was mentioned, she became put off because she believed it should be spontaneous. So I tried spontaneously engaging, but she accused me of attempting to force her if she didn't give consent beforehand. I was so confused, to say the least. Over the years, I had grown closer to one of her friends, and we went out for coffee one week. After some chit-chatting, she asked how the bedroom life was going. When I confessed that we had never done anything, she was really shocked. I thought, who wouldn't be shocked about a married couple where they were both still virgins? But no, she was shocked because her friend, my wife, had been incredibly promiscuous before she met me. According to the friend, she used to have all sorts of intimate experiences with various people. She estimated at least 14 lovers that she knew about. This left me even more confused. I wondered if I was just undesirable and why she had married me if I wasn't attractive enough for her. After talking some more to her friend, she suggested I sit down and have a serious conversation with my wife. Fast forward, and I finally sat down with my wife last Sunday after she spent the night at her parents' house the day before. You'll later understand why this matters. At first, she was completely unreceptive, but I asked her to listen and let me talk without interrupting. She agreed. I talked to her calmly, telling her that I wanted to love her in every way possible. I told her that I married her because I loved all of her, and that I wanted to know what was going on with her. I mentioned that I knew about how active she was in the past and wanted to know why those people could be with her wholly, but I couldn't. My talk lasted for almost an hour, and she listened without interrupting. As I talked, she started crying. She didn't sob or break down. Instead, she was quiet, and tears rolled down her cheeks. This honestly made something inside me break, and I began crying too. I rarely cry. After I finished talking, we sat and looked at each other for some time. I could see that she was thinking. She just silently shook her head. At that moment, things nearly fell apart, and I asked if she wanted me to contact a solicitor on Monday to begin divorce proceedings. She fully broke down then. She cried so hard, sobbing, that she ended up as a ball on the floor. This shocked me. I had never seen her like that before. I don't remember doing it, but I ended up on the floor cuddling her while she cried. And then the dam broke. That's when she finally confessed something that broke my heart.
My husband cheated on me, so I let his whole family see. I had a feeling that my husband was cheating on me because there were many suspicious signs. He laughed and smiled constantly while sending messages, saying it was just his dad when I asked who it was, and he needed to stay late at work every night. When I called the office, his coworkers said he had left hours ago. When I asked what was going on, he laughed and said it was just a joke among coworkers. The last sign that made me certain something was happening was when he went out to buy milk at 11:30 at night and didn't come back until 2 in the morning. Now, if there is any advice I can give to others from all my experience, it's this. If you think your partner is cheating on you, hire a private detective. They are very good at what they do and will get evidence that really helps in a divorce. Now, moving forward a few months to his birthday. I know what you're thinking. Why on earth did I wait months before confronting him, and why did it have to be on his birthday? The answer to the first question is that I wanted to have as much evidence as possible to give to my lawyer, as well as making arrangements to find a new place to live. The answer to the second question is, of course, it had to be on his birthday. You see, after asking what he wanted to do for his birthday that year, he insisted that I go on a trip with my friends, since he had to work anyway and didn't want to be reminded that he was getting older. So I knew something was happening. And after finding a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses hidden in my closet, something in me snapped. So I did what any sensible woman would do. I went to a friend's house, pretending I was on a trip. While I was there, I called his mom, dad, sister, and several of his friends. I said I wanted to give him a big surprise, entering the room with streamers, party horns, and a big cake with candles. Sounds fun, right? And it was. It was 8:30 in the morning and we all met outside our apartment. We all got into the elevator, his mom holding the cake, and I reminded everyone to be as quiet as possible. I put the key in the lock and opened the door. We all entered silently and walked down the hallway to the bedroom. Everyone was holding a party horn and his mom was holding the cake, smiling from ear to ear. Then I suddenly opened the door. You can now check if there's a part 2 by pressing share and more.
My high school sweetheart left me to have fun at college and is now furious I won't take her back. Back in high school, Hannah and I clicked right from the start. It wasn't anything dramatic, really. We just found ourselves together a lot, sitting next to each other in classes without even planning it, ending up partners for projects. It was easy, comfortable. People started seeing us as a unit before we even got around to seeing it ourselves. By junior year, it was official, we were Gavin and Hannah, inseparable. Life was pretty straightforward then. School, homework, hanging out. I wanted to go into engineering. Hannah was all about graphic design. We'd talk about the future as if it were a given. College was part of the plan, but in a vague, distant sort of way. The kind of future talk that feels safe because it's all hypothetical. But then, senior year rolled around, and suddenly, college wasn't just a distant idea. It was happening. Hannah got accepted to her dream school, a big name place, miles away from our small town life. I was happy for her, really happy. But it was the first time I felt a crack in the solid thing we had. She was leaving, and I was staying, going to a local college. We promised each other it wouldn't change anything. Promises are easy when you don't want to face the reality. A few months into her freshman year, Hannah came back home for a visit. I was excited to see her, expecting it to be like old times. But she was different. Not in a bad way, just more grown up, I guess. And then she dropped it on me, the open relationship thing. She said it calmly, like she was just stating a fact. There was no discussion, no asking how I felt about it. She'd made up her mind. She wanted to have fun in college without the ties of our relationship holding her back. She even talked about it being safe, for our future together. I remember feeling like the ground had been pulled from under my feet. I didn't understand. We had been everything to each other. First loves, first real relationship, and then, out of nowhere, this. I couldn't just nod and agree. It went against everything I felt about us. I tried to explain that. I tried to argue, to make her see how much this would hurt me, how much it was asking of me to wait for her while she went off with other guys. But she didn't budge. She said I was being immature, that I'd get over it and we could talk when I was ready to be rational. Those weeks after she went back to college were some of the longest of my life. I kept replaying our conversation, wondering if I'd been too emotional, if there was a way to be okay with it. Then, when she called 2 weeks later acting as if nothing was wrong, as if our entire conversation hadn't shattered my world, and casually mentioned she had already been with other guys, I broke down. It was a deep, raw kind of pain I'd never experienced before. I told her it was over, that I couldn't do this. She accused me of being immature again, but I knew I couldn't go through with her plan. It wasn't just about being with other people, it was about respect, trust, and how she so easily disregarded my feelings. That was the last real conversation we had for a long time. She tried to contact me after that, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. It hurt too much. I had to move on, had to try and put myself back together without her. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Moving on wasn't easy. I threw myself into work in college. I picked up extra shifts at the job and took on more classes than I probably should have. It was my way of keeping busy, to avoid thinking about her. My social life took a hit. Initially, I avoided going out, especially to places where I knew I'd run into mutual friends. The thought of having to talk about the breakup or, worse, run into her, was something I couldn't handle. Slowly, though, I started reconnecting with old friends, the ones who knew me before Hannah.